So I'm going to admit I'm not a good enough cook to know exactly what the Chinese pepper flavors are. I tried to do some research and I couldn't come up with much. But I do know the pepper flavors that I use, so I can explain the chemical reactions behind them. So there's 4 pepper flavors that I know of. First you have the pepper flavor of pepper, like black pepper. But there are many different varieties: white pepper, pink peppercorns. There's just a lot of different varieties of pepper. Now, all of these are going to interact with something called your TRPV ion channels in some way. Those are the channels on your nerve cells that tell you when you're in pain or irritated. Piperine acts on TRPV1 and TRPA1, which is jargony, but basically it creates a very tiny bit of pain, but a decent amount of irritation. And it gives things kind of a tang or a bite. Capsaicin is the one you probably know of. That's the chemical found in spicy peppers. Capsaicin activates your TRPV1 sensors basically exclusively. It is just pain, 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 and more pain. It makes you think you're on fire. But the thing is, when those sensors are activated, that sensation of being on fire changes the taste of the rest of the dish, changes the way your other taste receptors end up reacting with food. Which is one of the reasons we like spicy food, outside of sheer masochism. Piperine usually doesn't get to the extent that capsaicin does, so it doesn't change the food by changing the way that our taste receptors work. It just adds that bite to the food to create a different experience. Next we have allyl isothiocyanate. The fuck did I just say? This is the active chemical in spicy mustard or horseradish. It interacts with your TRPA1 receptor more than your TRPV receptor, which is responsible for, irritation, like when you're sneezing or your eyes are itchy or watering, that's what's being triggered. And interestingly enough, this doesn't actually happen until it's introduced to your mouth and it interacts with your saliva and your chewing. So that's why spicy mustard has that delayed effect. You eat it and then it hits you a little bit later. And finally we have hydroxyalpha-sanchul. This is the chemical that is found in Sichuan peppercorns. And while it also acts on your TRPV and TRPA ion channels, new evidence shows it also acts on potassium channels. But you don't have to worry about that. All you have to worry about is that what it does is it blocks these channels from receiving any input, and thus it makes your mouth numb and tingly. And since it does that, it basically blocks out some of the more powerful taste receptors, which allows more subtle flavors in a dish to come through as you become number. So yeah, those are the 4 pepper flavors that I know of, and those are the 4 chemical processes that they work by. Happy cooking!